Okay, let's get started with lesson 5-7. Your job today is to follow along with this lecture. Pause it whenever you need to stop and think about what you just learned. Rewind it if you need to hear something again, or fast forward if you get bored. But your job today is to completely fill out your notes and to show me at the end that you have correctly solved every single problem. Perhaps you copied down the work that I did, or when I said it was your turn, you correctly worked the problem on your own. And then you'll show those notes to me today, and that is how you will get your daily participation grade, which is a homework grade in the grade book. Today we are going to graph a line and write a linear equation using point-slope formula. And we're going to write a linear equation given 2 points. Last time we used SlopeIntercept formula, and now we're going to use something called point-slope formula. So last time you saw that if you knew the slope of a line and the y-intercept, you could graph it. But now we're going to graph it using any point. It doesn't have to be the y-intercept. We're going to use any point on the line and the slope to be able to graph it. And so slope-intercept is written in this form right here. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Y we just leave as y. Y1 is a number that we'll fill in. Okay? M is a number that we'll fill in, and what is m? M is slope. Okay? It's the number that's in front of x, right? Times x. This first x we just leave as x, but then x1 we fill in as a number. Where do we get y1 and x1 from? That comes from a point that the problem will give us. So let's try this. Let's write an equation in point-slope form for these different ones. Here we've got the slope is 1/6, that's your m. Here's 5, so we're going to call this x1. And here's y, okay, so this is y1. So in a coordinate, you've got the first number is x, the second number is y. In our point-slope formula, let's write this at the top so we can keep remembering it. Y minus, and I'll write in red the numbers that we're going to need to fill in, y1 equals, we have to fill in the letter m, times x minus, and then we have to fill in x1. So the blue stuff is the stuff that we leave exactly the way it is, and the red stuff is what we fill in numbers for. Let's try. So we're going to write out this in point-slope form. So we're going to write y minus, and then instead of y1, we're going to write this number here, 1, equals, and instead of m, we're going to write the slope, 1/6, times x, we just leave that x, minus, and instead of x1, we're going to write this number 5, the x coordinate here, minus 5. And this is all you do. You don't have to solve it. You don't have to do anything else. This is all you have to do. Let's try this one. Slope is -4, so this is m. Here's our x coordinate, there's our y. So we're going to call this x1, and we're going to call this y1. Okay, so y minus y1, okay, the 3 right there, equals m, -4, times x minus, and then this, 0. One more. Y minus, oh, I forgot to fill in my letters. Slope is m, okay? In your coordinate, the first one is x. We're going to call it x1. Second one is y. We're going to call it y1. Now, it's not entirely important that you put the little ones here. They're just labels, and it's just helping me remember that I'm going to put, this is x1, so this is the x that I'm going to fill in there. This is y1, so I'm going to fill in this here. If you don't put your labels, no big deal. It's okay. Okay, so y minus, but we're going to minus -4. So minus -4 equals m, that's 1 times x minus, then this negative 1 minus negative 1. Let's simplify it just a little bit. I don't like having this minus a negative. So remember, if you're minusing a negative, that's the same thing as adding it. And the same thing here, we're minusing a negative, so it's the same thing as adding it. So now we can simplify this to be y plus 4 equals 1 times x plus 1. So I just simplified those minus negatives. By the way, make sure you copied all this down into your notes packet. Alright, now it's your turn, so pause the video and write these out in that y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1 form. This is called the point slope form. Okay, so here's your format. Do it just like we did the last slide. Pause the video and try that. Okay, now do you remember in 5.6 the thing that bothered everybody the most was solving for b, solving for the y-intercept. And now I'm going to show you a way that's not quite as confusing. Okay, so let's start this problem filling it out in the point slope form. Okay, and remember that's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, so here's our slope. This is m. Okay, there's our x coordinates. So we're going to call that x1. There's our y coordinates. So we're going to call that y1. Okay, so we'll just fill it out. Y minus, and instead of y1, I'm going to put 4 equals m3 times x minus negative 1. So if we're minusing a negative 1, that's exactly the same as saying plus 1. Okay, so let's just clean that up a little bit and put plus 1. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to solve for y. Okay, so we're going to solve this for y. The first thing we need to do is simplify both sides of the equation. So the left side's already simplified. This is chapter 2 algebra. The left side's already simplified. Right side, we need to simplify this. So we're going to distribute that 3 through. Okay, so now we're copying down here. Okay, so y minus 4 equals 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times 1 is plus 3. Okay, I still want to solve for y, so I want to leave the y here on the left side of the equal sign, and I want to move everything else over to the right side. So this negative 4 is going to have to move over to the right side. So it's negative now. I'm going to move it by adding it. Add 4 to both sides. These 4's cancel out. So then I get y equals 3x. 3 plus 4 is 7, so plus 7. I can't combine 3x and 7. They're not like terms, so I just leave it exactly like this. And look, magically there's your y-intercept, and you would be able to graph that now. So remember before how we were solving b, you didn't really like it that way. This, a lot of people think is easier. Try again. Okay, we want to eventually get it into slope-intercept form, but we're going to start with point-slope form. Okay, so this is step 1. And we're going to go, here's our m, here's our x1, and there's our y1. Alright, so the format is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So let's fill that in. Y minus y1, 2, equals m, negative 1/2 times x minus x1, 2. And then we solve for y. Okay, so we have it in point slope form. Now we're going to solve for y to put it into the slope-intercept form. Remember, slope-intercept form is your y equals mx plus b form. Okay, all we got to do is solve for y. So we need to simplify the left side. Well, it's already simplified, so there's nothing to do there. We just copy it down. Okay, and then we're going to simplify the right side. So we're going to distribute this negative 1/2 through the parentheses. Copy down that equal sign. Negative 1/2 times x is negative 1/2 x. Negative 1/2 times negative 2, well, a negative times a negative is a positive, so we'll put down a plus sign. 1/2 times 2 is just 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1, it's 1. Okay, we're solving for y, so we want to leave the y all by itself on the left side of the equal sign. So this negative 2 is going to have to move to the right side. It's negative now, so we move it by adding it to both sides. Y equals negative 1/2 x. 1 plus 2 is 3, so plus 3. And look at that. I've gotten it into slope-intercept form. So you start in point slope, and then you solve for y, and that magically changes it into slope-intercept form. Again, make sure you're copying all these things down into your notes. Copy all this down into your notes. This is part of your daily grade. Okay, how much further do we have to go? Okay, you try example 4 on your own. Pause the video, try this example on your own. Okay, now we're going to write in slope-intercept form a line that goes through these 2 points. Well, if we're doing, remember, first we start in point slope form. That's job number 1. Okay, that's y2, whoops. That's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Well, to be able to fill out point slope form, I need to have an m. Do I have an m here? No, I don't, so I need to find m first. Okay, so let's find m. Okay, remember the formula for m is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, this can be our point number 1. So this can be x1, that can be y1, this can be point number 2, so that can be x2, and that can be y2. So let's fill it out. y2, 1 minus, I sent all your parents emails saying that you had a test on Monday, so now some of them are bouncing back. Okay, anyway, y2, that's 1 minus y1, so minus negative 3 over x2, 4, minus x1, 2. So 1 minus negative 3 is the same as 1 plus 3, and 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. So 2 is your m. I don't think the whole screen recorded that because I don't have my whole screen recording, so let me write it down where you can see it. Okay, 2 equals m. Okay, so remember 2 equals m. Pause the video here and copy down all this work. Okay, and now I'm going to erase some things so I have more space to write. Okay, and now I'm going to fill in my point slope form. So here is our first point, the x1 and the y1, so we'll use this. So we're going to fill in point slope form now. Y minus y1, so minus negative 3, equals m. We just found m, it's 2, times x minus x1, 2. Okay, now remember y minus negative 3. Minusing a negative 3 is the same as adding. Okay, so that's like plus 3. So let's clean that up and put plus 3. Here's our point slope form. But we want slope-intercept form. So the next thing to do is to solve for y. Okay? Solve for y, we got to simplify the left side of the equal sign. Already done for us. Let's just write that down. And then we have to simplify the right side. So let's distribute this 2 through the parentheses. Why isn't it drawing? There we go. Okay, so 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Then that positive 3 has to move over here to the right side, so the y can be by itself. It's positive, so we minus it on both sides. So we end up with y equals 2x, negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. 2x minus 7, you can't combine those, so you're all done. And that looks exactly like your slope-intercept form. Congratulations. Okay? Write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line through 2 points. I'm going to let you try this on your own. So the first thing you want to do is find m. Okay, and m is the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, and then your next step is to put it in point-slope form. And that's the y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, and then so that's step 1, step 2, and then step 3 is to solve it for y. So that way you'll have your slope-intercept form. Pause the video, try this. Aha, another one. Same thing, you're going to want to do exactly the same thing that you did on this last problem. So let me copy all this stuff. Copy it. Move to the next slide. Paste it. Why didn't it paste? Aha, there it is. Okay, so now you do example 7 on your own. Okay, try this. Why did it? Oh, well, that shouldn't have copied. We didn't want that to copy. Okay, so try it through these 2 points. See how that goes. Okay, now we're going to try this one. The cost to sustain a deck. Here's a chart, okay? So if you have this area, the cost to sustain your deck is this much, okay? Area is going to be your independent variable. So independent variables are x, independent variables are y's. And we want to write an equation in slope-intercept form that represents this function. Okay, let's do it in point-slope form. So the first thing we need to do is find slope. Okay, so that's your m. Okay, and that's the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so let's call this point 1 and let's call that point 2. So y2 is 337.5 minus 150 over 250 minus 100. Okay, and so 337.5 minus 150 equals 187.5 divided by 250 minus 100 is 150. And then 187.5 divided by 150 equals m equals 1.25. Whoops. 1.25. So now we have our slope. Make sure that you get all this copied down because now I'm going to erase it so that way I can do my point slope form. Well, no, I can write point slope form over here. Okay, so point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, so y minus, here's my y1, 150, equals m, that's 1.25, times x minus x1, 100. Okay, so there's my point slope form. But I think they said they want it in slope intercept form. They sure did. So step 3, now pause the video. Make sure you have everything copied down. And then step 3 is to solve for y. Okay, so now we're going to solve for y. Okay, so we need to simplify the left side of the equation. There's nothing to do, so we just copy it down. Okay, and then we're going to simplify the right side of the equation, so we're going to distribute that 1.25 through. So we get 1.25x, and then 1.25 times negative 100 is minus 125. Finish solving for y. We need to move this negative 150 over, so we'll add 150 on both sides. These cancel out, so y equals 1.25x plus 25. Negative 125 plus 150 is 25. All right, so now we have it in slope-intercept form. Now, as if this weren't taking long enough, they want to find the cost to stain a deck where the area is 75 square feet. Okay, so area is our x. Okay, so then we're going to plug 75 in for x here. So again, make sure you have all this copied down because I'm about to erase it. Whoops, already did. Okay, and so then instead of x, we're going to put 75. Y equals 1.25 times 75 plus 25. Okay, so y equals 1.25 times 75 is, let me find out, 93.75 plus 25, and then these two added together equals 118.75. 118.75. Okay, so then the cost to stain a deck that was 75 square feet would be $118.75. Make sure all this is copied in your notes. I guess I could have written on that slide. Okay, last thing. You can graph things using the slope-intercept equation, which we've been used to. Remember, you start at the y-intercept, that's -2. Okay, go to the y-intercept at -2 and put a dot there. And then count out the slope. The slope is 1 over 3. That's your rise over your run. Okay, so then we go up 1, we rise 1, and we run to the right 3. We put a new dot there, and we draw the line. Okay? Or you can do it, well, that says point slope equation, so I don't know what happened there. Here's one. Or you can do it graphing with point slope equation. And this is, remember the original formula was y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. That was our original formula. So 2, that negative sign means we're going to take the opposite. So if you see plus 2, it means that the original y was -2. Okay, because you're taking the opposite of whatever it is. And if you don't understand, that's okay. Just trust me. When you see a plus here, it means the coordinate was a negative. And when you see a negative here, it means the coordinate was a positive. So this is an x. So we're going to fill in our point. That's 1, -2. So then you go to this point, 1, -2. You find it on your graph. 1, -2. It's right here. So you put a dot right there. So the point given was 1, -2. And then from there you count out the slope. Our slope is -3/4. Okay, that's rise over run. So from this point that you just did, you rise -3, which basically means you drop 3. 1, 2, 3. And then you run 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you put a new dot there, and you connect your dots. All done. And it looks like we are all set. Make sure that all your notes are filled out. If you have any questions, ask me now. Thanks for watching.